Antarctic Tundra, June 19th, 2020. The snow fell faster than rain ever could, feeling it was like having small thumbtacks shower against your face. The icy cold feeling made Claire's cheeks feel numb in a matter of minutes. The DPG base was supposedly up ahead, somewhere through this cloud of falling snow. She could hear the helicopter taking back to the skies behind her as Ellie, Franklin, and Zia followed behind her. They were all dressed in snow clothes in advance, just like her. The wind behind them picked up as the propeller of the helicopter. She could tell that each of them was just as adhesive about the cold as they were. "Where is this base, anyway?" Zia said loud enough to hear over the snowstorm. "According to my scanner, it shouldn't be far," Claire answered just as loudly. Anybody else have the feeling we could be the only ones at this base?" Franklin asked. "Impossible," Claire said. "Maxin said he and a few others were there already." "Maxin? Who's Maxin?" Ellie asked. "That would be Zane Maxin, a famous dinosaur rehabilitator." Claire nodded as she led the group. "Former game hunter from Tanzania we recruited after the Lockwood incident. When the dinosaurs got loose, he wanted to preserve them instead of hunting them. It's like some sort of code with him." "So why isn't he out here?" Claire turned her head towards Ellie as if she were about to say it was a very serious matter. "He says he and his team found something." As the four trekked down the snow-white path before them, they could hear an engine revving up. It was the faintest sound they could hear in the blaring winds, softer than a whisper even. Besides the sharp feeling of the snow hitting her face, Claire also had the feeling they were close to the Arctic base. The others seemed to be listening for it as well. Their clumping footsteps had stopped to hear for the sound of the engine. They held themselves to keep warm from the frigid temperature. They felt numb all over as if they had been locked in a walk-in freezer. They hoped that the engine they heard belonged to a vehicle of some sort. And that is when it came. From the trail up ahead, something big was bursting through the snow. Bits of the chilling powder flew in every direction as the unidentified object was speeding towards them. Whatever it was coming towards them was unclear, being shrouded by piles of snow. The four stood close together as whatever was coming for them was getting closer into view. It was only a few feet away from them when it finally stopped. Was it a dinosaur? Could it have been one out here? It was then that something moved on the side of the large thing. It was a door. This was a vehicle. And they watched as a person stepped out of it. The man was wearing a green jacket and a pair of black shades over his eyes. He seemed to be somewhere in his 40s. There was a tag on his jacket that Franklin could barely read as Maxin, Game Warden. "Need a lift?" the man asked. Later, the truck had brought Claire and company to the very destination they were hoping to arrive at. There were plenty of people there, hard at work on their studies on the dinosaur life cycle. Maxin walked alongside Claire and Ellie as Zia and Franklin were getting some hot coffee to relieve them from the cold they had just endured outside. "I was wondering if you had lost your way or not," Maxin commented. "Dr. Sattler, I presume?" "Right," Ellie nodded. "Now I heard you wanted to speak with us about something?" "Yes, you are correct, Dr. Sattler," Maxin said as he approached a desk and sat down. Claire and Ellie sat down as well, watching him type on the keyboard. "You two are aware of the recent attacks happening around the world, yes?" They both nodded. "As am I," Maxin continued as he brought up pictures of each of the dinosaurs related to said attacks. "There's all but one that remains unidentified. However, with the ones that are classified, there seems to be a connection. As you can see, each of these dinosaurs' eyes have been turned pure white. Now, some of these dinosaurs have been working together, alternating between partners. Every reported attack involved either one or two of these dinosaurs. I don't remember the Giga being on Mill's list. Claire was rather confused by one of the dinosaurs. There are lots of dinosaurs out there that weren't on Bill's list, Maxin confirmed. I mean, what we have here could be some sort of disease. That is what the public is saying, he continued, until 3 days later, when that very Allosaurus charged me while I was hunting caribou on the Klondike. It nearly destroyed my truck, which is why the roof had some snow coming from it. Anyways, I watched it tear up the nearby road and cause a few wrecks. Before it could do any more, however, I heard something. Something I hadn't been able to forget. Interested in this, Claire and Ellie listened intently. It was some sort of barking, but nothing of the sort at the same time. It was like something out of the darkest pits of the eternal fire. Whatever was making it, the owl heard it too. It was like it responded to it like it was one of its own. Like a wolf responds to another howl. It just turned and left. And that was when I saw it. Something, another dinosaur. It was almost my size, but gray with a white stripe on the side. It was calling the owl away. As soon as I saw it, it ran. Owl went with it. That was when I realized what I saw. It was an alpha. Claire didn't seem to have much words for what Maxin had just explained. She had worked at Jurassic World for a long time, but she never remembered seeing a dinosaur like Maxin had just described. Not even working for the DPG. She thought about this for a moment. What could fit those descriptions? Human-sized, gray, white stripe? Wait a minute. No. There was no way. But that's not all I found. Huh? After that incident, I tracked those dinosaurs to a specific location outside of Monterey. Maxin typed on the computer some more, opening a file that showed a video recording. The tape was most likely taken from a surveillance camera. The video showed the Allosaurus laid on its stomach as some sort of holding mechanism. A few strange men were gathered around it, talking amongst themselves. These men wore strange yellow suits and green helmets. They waved their arms towards someone off screen. And without warning, the mechanism holding the Allosaur was changing. It soon looked just like a fuel tank found on an 18-wheel truck. Speaking of, 18 wheels appeared on the side of the tank. At this point, it was crystal clear to Ellie and Claire. These people were undercover. That's how they were getting around the world. It seems these people may be orchestrating these attacks, Maxin said, tapping the screen. Mouth agape, Ellie spoke up. Wait a minute. Who are these people anyways? Biosyn, Maxin answered. They've been the corporate rival for InGen since before the park. After the 1993 incident, these people remained underground and were thought to have been shut down. As inside intelligence has it, they were even responsible for the very incident. What could they be doing with InGen's dinosaurs? Ellie asked. That's what I plan on helping to find out. Maxin took a sip of his coffee. You see, my code is to hunt only what I need to hunt. My occupation doesn't stand at just being a hunter. I protect species of few. What these people are doing puts them in harm's crossfire. And most likely the human race, Claire nodded. Well, we need some further investigation on Biosyn. And that's why we're here. Now this was a voice that Ellie could easily recognize. She remembered being with the man behind this voice. Long ago, what seemed like ages. She turned to see Alan Grant standing behind them. Having just arrived with also elderly looking, Ian Malcolm. Claire's old technician expert, Lowery, stood next to them. Hey, Claire, there's some guys here to see you. Alan smiled at the blonde woman before him. Hi, Ellie.